So today's the day where we get to unbox AMD's new RX 6800 series of graphics cards. But instead of just boring you with a simple unboxing video, we decided to take it to a whole other level. You see, everyone's dreaming about having an all-AMD build, and what's even cool is featuring the best that AMD has to offer to date. That means featuring their fastest Ryzen processor and their fastest Radeon graphics card that we have in our hands right now for the best possible gaming experience. At least that's what AMD's claiming, but you'll have to wait until Wednesday for our full performance review of these new GPUs. But with some technologies like smart access memory that are supposed to work really well by increasing frame rates and the amazing performance we already know the Ryzen 5000 series has, it's really not hard to believe that. So we wanted to put together a test system for airflow and temperature results, and we also decided to make it look cool as well by adding some colored elements to it without adding too much RGB into the build. But it also does have some RGB, but trust me guys, it's gonna look really, really cool. At least I hope it does. I mean, sure, it has a bunch of components that are in short supply, but there's nothing new about new products being in short supply after launch. I can't remember a time that didn't happen. So let's talk about the components that are going into this PC, but first, a quick word from our sponsor.
400. Yeah. The Rival 3 wireless. Nice. You get up to 400 hours of playtime with two AAA batteries at 1000 Hz. That's plenty of time to own in games with a good shape, user-defined weight, and a mouse that is also Bluetooth ready. The SteelSeries Rival 3 wireless. Check it out below.
Alright, so the main star of the show is the RX 6800 XT and the 6800. Unfortunately, we can't talk about clock speeds, temperatures, or performance. You'll have to wait till Wednesday for that. But what we can do is talk about the exterior design, because this is by far the best looking GPU that AMD has launched. It features a downdraft style triple fan design with a mix of matte black and chrome accents around the shroud. What I really love is the red outline on the side. It just speaks AMD. And honestly guys, from every angle, it also kind of looks fake, like as if I'm holding a 3D rendered object, but it's not. It's very real. The massive heatsink that you see over here exhausts hot air all around. This could be a huge advantage if mounted vertically, which is what we'll be doing in this build. As for size, it's 10.5 inches long, so it's a little bit shorter than the RTX 3080 Founders Edition, but it's definitely longer than the 3070. This is also a 2.5 slot card, and keep in mind that the 6800, which is its younger sibling, is 2 slots, so it's a little bit thinner than the XT. For power, both these GPUs take dual 8 pins, so that makes cable routing so much easier. And if we take a look at the backplate, well, it's just a backplate. Not a huge fan of the silver look, but that's just me, and I wouldn't have to worry about that in this build because we're mounting it vertically. Now, if you take a look at the I/O, you get a USB-C port, HDMI 2.1, and a couple of DisplayPort 1.4 ports. Interestingly, there's no exhaust around the I/O shield like what's found on the RTX Founders Edition, but we'll have to wait and see what temperatures look like. The CPU of choice for this build is the Ryzen 9 5950X. This is the fastest Zen 3 CPU that AMD has launched, featuring 16 cores and 32 threads, and the clock speeds can boost up to 4.9 GHz, which is just insane. Now, to cool this beast, we chose NZXT's Z63 280mm AIO liquid cooler. I've been waiting to get my hands on one of these just because it features an awesome looking LCD display, and they've made some improvements to the pump compared to the previous X series. That being said, I will be replacing the stock fans with Noctua's NF-A14 Chromax 140mm fans. They're going to perform great, and I'm going to install the included red vibration pads. Housing the 5950X is the ROG Crosshair 8 Dark Hero. This is one of ROG's newest X570 motherboards, and it looks like it's ready for some insane overclocking, which is primarily what this board is designed for. I love the subtle looks of this board with these clean lines on the heatsink over the PCB. The chipset is passively cooled, and ASUS did this by implementing larger and robust heatsinks around that area, and this should complement acoustics as well. The I/O is loaded. I mean, you can just tell by looking at it. It's got Wi-Fi 6 support, 2 M.2 slots, 14+2 power delivery. I just can't wait to start overclocking the 5950X because this thing looks like it can handle it no problem. For memory, Team Group hooked us up with their T-Force Dark Z Alpha 32GB kit clocked at 3600 MHz. This kit is optimized specifically for Ryzen CPUs, and I love the aggressive styling on the heatsinks. They blend in with the motherboard really well, and I didn't want an RGB kit, so this works out just fine. Now for storage, we're going with Team Group's Cardea Zero Z440 2TB NVMe SSD. This is one of their new Gen 4 drives, and the read speeds go up to 5 GB per second. Plus, it comes with 5-year warranty. This doesn't look all that different from other Gen 4 drives in the market, but the small heat spreader uses a combination of graphene and copper. Supposedly, it can provide the same type of cooling as larger solutions, and since it's 0.2mm thick, it avoids interference during installation, and you can just pop the motherboard's heatsink right over it. Powering the whole build is the Revolt Pro 850-watt 80+ gold certified power supply from Fantex. It's fully modular, so that should help with cable management. It's got plenty of juice to power the 5950X and the 6800XT. I'm not a huge fan of these stock cables, so instead of going with an entire custom set, I picked up these sleeved red and black extension cables from Amazon. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested. The quality of these cables are amazing for the price, and while we're doing a whole red and black themed build, I also picked up this matte red vinyl wrap. I had an idea to wrap the side of the PSU because the case that we're going with features a small cutout on the power supply shroud, and so this should really add a nice accent complementing the rest of the build. We'll see if it works out, but I'm just excited to try it out for the first time. Now, speaking of the case, we're putting together all of these components inside the Evolve X from Fantex. This is one of the best looking ATX chassis that I've ever come across. I've had the previous version of the Evolve and I loved it, but with the X, Fantex has made some major improvements for airflow. The RGB integration is just brilliant. If you're interested in our full review, you can check it out right over here. We're also going to be adding a Halos Lux digital RGB frame on the rear 140mm fan that comes with the case, so that should really add a nice red glow, and it should really complement the rest of the build. So now that you know what's exactly going inside this all AMD build, let's put this beast together. Guys, I have to be honest, I am absolutely in love with this system. I mean, for an all AMD build, this looks phenomenal. From every possible angle, I just can't stop looking at it. It's so cool. I mean, just look at it. Even from this angle, it looks really cool. It's just great. I mean, the subtle LED accents throughout the chassis complements the rest of the components really well, including the Radeon logo on the 6800 XT. The Halos Lux frame looks gorgeous, and the LCD display on that Z63 cooler, man, I can spend hours playing around with that thing because it's an LCD display and you can actually load it up with GIFs from the internet, and like I said, you can spend hours just like killing your productivity. Honestly, that's a lot of fun. And there's just a lot of things that you can add to that LCD display, like monitoring your CPU and GPU temperatures, your clock speeds. Of course, you can play with lighting as well. Right now, I've set it to white, but the red lighting that you're seeing in this footage, it looks great. The customization options are countless. It's amazing. I love the way how it looks. The red and black sleeve cables look amazing, and honestly, I actually don't want to switch entirely to my small form factor workstation PC that I built just a little longer, because this thing looks gorgeous, it looks way better, and I actually don't mind that huge size. I mean, yes, it's not an SFF build, but just looking at it, it's just, you know, sometimes size matters. It really does. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we did choose to mount the RX 6800 XT vertically, and we were worried about it being closer to the tempered glass side panel, but it turns out there's a lot of room for the GPU to breathe. We're gonna start running our temperature test right after I wrap up this video, but I also wanna quickly mention that I was able to overclock the memory to 4866 megahertz at CL19, which is very impressive. Honestly, I just can't wait to fiddle around with the 5950X as well. There's just a lot more that needs to be done in terms of tweaking and just making sure that the system runs at its optimal configuration. Definitely stay tuned for our full review of the 6800 XT and the 6800 on Wednesday. But until then, let us know what you guys think about this build, because I'm really excited about it, and you know, I'm just debating whether or not if I should switch to this as my workstation PC or my other SFF build. I'm just like contemplating or just debating. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'm Eva with Hardware Canucks. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay safe, spend responsibly, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.